All right, welcome everyone to our 10 a.m. session with Lynette Miller and Ali Gonthier on When the Shit Hits the Fan, Volume 2, Bigger, Badder, now with Drupal 9 included.
Okay, great. Welcome everyone. Let's get started. Next slide. So I am Ali, and this is my colleague Lynette. We've both been in and around customer support in Drupal for quite a long time, and we both currently work at Acquia. Pong. Why are we here? Good question. We are here because we have, once again spent many years supporting Drupal websites for our customers at Acquia. And during that time, we have seen almost everything that can and will go wrong with your website. We want to help teach others and to prepare you for what steps you can take to better prepare your application before it hits the fan. We will also be providing some helpful tips to help you quickly diagnose and fix those issues. Pong. Next slide.
I know I'm trying. It's not working.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I giggle a lot. The biggest takeaway we can provide is to please have a backup strategy. When we were first writing down ideas for this presentation, Lynette immediately typed, "Dear God, please have a backup strategy." We have seen customers completely blow away their site, and not every hosting company like ours provides a type of, disaster recovery backup. So please, please, please backup, backup, backup. When you're thinking about your Drupal site, there are three main components that need to be backed up. You have your file system, you have your code base. So are you using like a Git workflow or an alternative way of keeping older versions of your code? Your database, are you backing it up? For example, when you're making any live changes to your production site, do you first back up your database? We really mean it. Please back up.
And all the time.
Yep.
If you're all thinking of doing anything, you back up your site, and you should keep your backups. You should have some backups not on your server. So you should have your backup somewhere else. I mean, this is a long discussion, and everybody says it all the time, but really back up, because your site will go down one day. It will.
Okay.
Inevitably. If it's
Next
up for
slide.
any amount of time. Sorry.
I know. Are you prepared? Have you implemented a monitoring service to monitor your website's uptime? How will you be notified if your site goes down and is unresponsive? Are you keeping an eye on the expiration of your SSL certificates or the expiration of any of your domains? My dog trainer completely lost her domain because she let it expire. Now she has to think about, what do I change my, domain to, right? So are you using a CDN? This is one of the biggest takeaways we can suggest other than backing up your site. We are seeing more and more that our customers are getting attacked through traffic. And the only way you can protect yourself from a DDoS event is to get a CDN. A WAF is something else to consider. It allows you to block traffic at the edge layer before that traffic hits your site.
Yeah, I just want to quickly reiterate, that is 95% of all the site problems that I see is, I'm sorry, Ali, I don't mean to jump in, but okay. 95% of all the site problems I see is malicious traffic. It is unbelievable. It is worse than it was. I always thought it was bad. The last 6 months, it has skyrocketed. It has just gone nuts. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, we have seen that also.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
And why is that? Is it because like bad people have more time since they're not traveling anymore, or?
That's a good guess. I have no idea. That's an interesting
Everybody's
guess.
home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Who knows?
We have a lot to cover. So next slide. Do you have access to all the things? Is that what this one is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how to log into your application? Is there a special edit URL that you need to access for your backend? Are you using a VPN? Do you know how to SSH into those servers? Do you even know what those IPs are? Thinking about logging, can you access your logs? Do you simply have logging turned on? I also wanted to mention that we've put together a checklist that we I think I passed through that slide, but I should have mentioned it. So we have a checklist and a handout that we are providing. It's I posted at the beginning of the presentation, but I forgot to mention it. Sorry. But we will give you that link at the end because it has everything you need to know that we were saying here, including the commands that we're going to run and the checklist we've provided. So
Yeah, we don't want you to have to worry about writing anything down, and our handout actually will have a
Yep.
lot more commands than
Yep.
actually than what we show. Okay, go ahead.
Got it. Next slide.
It's not going forward. There it goes.
Don't
Okay.
worry. How are you going to get help? Who are you going to call? So say you do identify a problem, does your hosting have support? Do you have IT support? Do you know how to file that ticket? Is the contact information that you provided those vendors up to date? With the current pandemic, we've seen more often than ever, people have listed their office numbers as a contact information. Like if your site crashes, what number do you expect them to call? Will you be available at that office number that you've provided? So please, please, please update your phone number so that your vendor can reach you in the event that something happens.
Yep.
So,
I can't get a hold of anybody. Your site is down, and we at Acquia will try to call you, and I can't call anybody because nobody has actually updated their phone numbers.
yeah. So let's talk about your stack. Lynette, it's your
All
turn.
right. All right, so this is the first part where we're talking, we're kind of switching over to my section here, and I want to talk a little bit about understanding your website. And then I'm gonna show how to use curl to go to different parts of your website here. I'm gonna show you how to find some things in the logs, and then I'm gonna show maybe two Drush commands. When Ali and I were practicing this presentation, it turns out that Lynette planned about 3 hours worth of content, and we don't have enough time. So that's one of the reasons why our handout is there. Our handout, I've put everything in our handout, and I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights. And here we go. Okay, so one thing before your site is down, you kind of need to understand, and all the things that we're talking about right here, you want to know this before your site is down. You want to be able to SSH into your server and know how to do that prior to your site is down. You don't want to waste time figuring all that out. You also kind of need an understanding of how you are. Many, many people out there are still on, sort of single boxes. So the web server and the database and maybe Varnish even are all on one box, right? And so your stack is one box, and it might go from one application to another. But large amounts of the internet now has things that are where they're all split up. Where a very, very common thing is to have a CDN that sits in front of load balancers, that sits in front of multiple web servers, and that web servers all go back to a database, right? And problems can happen at any point. This is kind of like this long signal flow. So there might be problems at the CDN. Like anything else, not everything is perfect. So you could actually have a problem at the CDN. Could be a problem at the load balancers or coming into here. Or if you have things like multiple web servers, it's possible that there's a problem with one of them, maybe not all of them. How do you kind of figure out where that is, right? Okay, so that's just, but you also kind of need to have a sort of a grokking and understanding of how your site's set up. All right. Okay, so we get to the point now, sort of the second part here. Oh no, my site is down, right? So the first thing that you want to think about is what's happening. These are a couple of quick questions just to run through your head. What exactly is happening? What does down mean? Is it actually, is the browser just spinning? Are you getting DNS not found? Are you getting an SSL error? All those things could mean your site is down. So could it be that you click on a link and it loads the wrong thing? Down, or a problem could be defined. So you got to decide what is happening. When did this problem start? Did it start an hour ago? Did it start 10 minutes ago? Did it start a week ago? Did it start right after we turned on this new module? Did it start right after we deployed code? Did it start right after my hosting company decided to update the database server to MySQL 5.7 for 5.6, something like that? Having a time period that you can kind of figure out when this out will help you figure it out. Also start thinking about what has changed. That kind of goes over Have you turned on a new theme? Have you turned on new modules? Have you updated something else? Have you added a new view to the front page? And that view is taking up too much processing power and it's taking down your site. What sort of changes have happened recently? From when did it start? Who does it affect? You can have site down of things or issues that can only affect certain people. So is it that anonymous users can't do things? Is it because is the problem that anonymous browsing is fine, but admin users can't log in, or editors can't save notes? All of those are very different problems. And once you've kind of gone through this, is my problem reproducible? Can I make it happen? Can I make it happen so that I can, having a problem that's infrequent is horrible to troubleshoot. But if you can start finding patterns in that frequency, that will help you track it down. For example, something that happens, maybe a small part of the time might be related to one of the web servers that you have and not the rest. Okay, so the idea is, again, can you find where the signal breaks? All right. So anyways, it's just ideas to think about when your site is down. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to talk about is curling. And for a lot of people, I don't know where everybody's skill set at. This might be extremely easy for everybody, but, and actually I should have gone up one slide. I actually have a slide that says demo, but I am going to go ahead and demonstrate curling. So what I like to do, generally when I get some sort of notification that we've got a site down or something and I've got to look at what's going on, one of the first things I do is I'll just go ahead and curl that site. I may go ahead and load it in the browser, and doing those things I find are two separate things. They tell me different stuff. So I'm just gonna, now right now I am curling. Is that legible for everybody, by the way? Let me put that there. I think I got that so you can see it. So I just pasted that. We're actually curling my demo site or my staging site on Acquia. This is one of those sites nobody ever visits, but it's a site that I can just do things here. So when you curl a site, I have it set up to use SlickSkit. So I basically get the headers, I want to see the errors, and I'm sending a GET request. So it's telling me my headers. Now in this particular one, I can see that I have a 301. That means I have a redirect. And so the next request, and this is the next request. So sometimes when you're curling, you can see that you get this redirect, but then you get no more response. Then you know that the point is at the next point. So looking at the curl can tell you things. Right now, it'll tell you whether you've got caching turned on. If you're on Acquia, and other hosting companies may be the same, every request has a request ID. So you can take this request ID and look through the logs for that request. That's extremely useful. This one right here was another request ID. And it just gives you all sorts of information. So, but now basically I've got a 200 response. And so that's right now, let's say I'm curling to my CDN. I know that that's good. Okay. So I basically, if we come back here and sorry, this should give me present. Let's go back to present. All right, so I did a regular curl to the front. If we think back to our slide, we might think that I've curled to the CDN, and that's answering and responding, but I don't know about anything by hand yet. The next thing that I would do is that I would curl to the load balancers that are right behind my CDN. So you're going to want to have that IP address handy. Well, we'll pretend like you have it, right? So you can use this --resolve, option with curl to go ahead and pin. And so it's going to, so I'm going to say curl my site, www.example.com, but point www.example.com to the IP address of my balancers. You're going to have to put a port in there. That port is either 80 if it's HTTP or 443 if it's HTTPS. And that will let you hop. And so you can see it. Now, if the load balancers don't answer, then we know that's where the problem is. Or if they do, then we know we're good at that point. Sometimes you'll be getting a response, it's failing at your CDN, but if you go beyond your CDN and you get a response at the load balancers, then you know the problem is in the CDN. Now, if you get past the load balancers, then you have to determine, gee, is it somewhere? How is Drupal or my web host working? You can SSH into your web host, and actually from inside of your web host, you can curl Apache, and you can find out whether Apache is responding. You can do a curl dash, same idea, like slickskit. But when you're doing it localhost, more than likely you're going to have to add a host header. So -h adds the h for the, lets you add a header. We're telling it to host, and you're going to have to give it the domain name. And then you can put in http-localhost, and that will curl the local web, and you'll actually get a full response. Or actually, because I'm doing slickskit, you'll just get the headers, but Apache is answering you right there. You could also put different paths in there, /page2, whatever, at the end of the local host, so that you don't have to do this just to the front page. Okay. So using curl allows you to kind of get to the different parts of your stack. All right. Now I'm going to talk about the reading your log files. And I really feel like this is kind of the heart of trying, well, to solve any sort of problems when you're looking for errors. But really, when your site is down, your logs are your friends. And if you understand how to use these little command things here, they're like little building blocks, and you can use them, pipe them to each other, and use them to build very long commands. I'm going to kind of walk through this quickly, but hopefully you can see how this can allow you to just build amazing commands. And as I said, we have the handout, which has some snippets and things in it, and some actual examples. Okay, so demo, here we go. Here we go. Now I am logging in to, again, my local site. So one of the things that I don't know if I necessarily have to apologize for it, but my site does not get a great deal of traffic. I tried to simulate a little bit today and yesterday, just so I'd have something in the logs to share you guys. But I didn't know any site that. So I apologize for the lack of diversity and exciting things in the logs to look at, but at least it lets us look at the logs. All right, so first of all, this is the point where, do you know where your logs are, and do you know how to get to them? We're going to say, yes, you do, and here you are. Now, there's all different kinds of log files, and your hosting company will be different. Almost everybody will have some sort of Apache access log, which is where I'm going to do everything in today. But you probably also will have maybe some kind of error log, a PHP error log. As you can see, there's cron logs in here. I also highly recommend using syslog in Drupal and writing your Drupal watchdog logs out to files. It makes life infinitely easier if you're looking through the log files instead of the database. I'm not going to spend any more time on that, but just so you know. All right. So as I said, there's all sorts, the little commands that I want to talk about, you use them to sort of build together, to build this whole thing together. So the first command, many of you may already know this, but there's a command called tail that gives you the end of any text file that you send to it. So if you do tail access log, it's going to give you the last 10 lines of the access log. Now you can also do things like tail-n3, right? And it'll only give you the last 3 lines, or last -n1 or -n500, but it's basically giving you the end. There's also another command called head, does the exact same thing, but opposite. That doesn't make sense, but it does the opposite thing, I should say, where it gives you the beginning of the log file. It gives you the first 10 lines. These things will become, as I said, this is handy and useful, but in a minute, you'll see how this is even more useful. All right. The other thing about tailing is that you can actually tail your logs live. All right. So I can do tail access log, and with the -f command, and let me just hit a space here. And as requests come in, Allie, my friend, tells me, sends requests saying Lynette is awesome. We need more requests like that. But you can watch the requests come in. So this, I am actually, you could sit, and sometimes when things are happening, you actually just want to sit there and watch it happen. It's quite helpful. I always like to say you can let the logs flow over you. All right, so that's tail and head. Another extremely basic command that lots of people know, but it's going to become an important piece of the building blocks is cat, right? Cat will list a file. And then by the same token, zcat will list files that are compressed. 319 was yesterday. So here we go. So that allows you to list out a file that is compressed. So we've talked about head, cat, zcat, and tail. Now the two really sort of meaty commands, we're going to first talk about grep. And lots of people may know grep. If you don't, grep allows you to use regular expressions to search through text files. But none of that should scare you. I actually know very little regular expressions. I know enough to get what I need done. You could spend a long time. They can get extremely complex, and you can use a lot of very complex patterns, but generally you don't really need that, especially when you start using, when I talk about using these things as building blocks, you don't need to know a lot of regular expressions. So if I wanted to look through the logs and find all the posts, all right, I'm just going to do grep post access log. And while I said I'm using the access log, I could be looking for a particular error in the error logs or things like that. I'm just using the access log because I don't really have very many errors in my Drupal watchdog log right now. Okay, so I'm just going to grep here and find all the posts. Spits all that back to me very quickly. Now, let's say I want to know, grep lets you do a few more things. So let's say I didn't realize I needed to capitalize that. So I type in grep post. Oh, it's not finding anything. It's because grep is very literal. So if you wanted to ignore case, you have to do -i. So now if I do grep -i, it still finds the posts. I can also do things like I can, here, let's make this back to post. That just bothers me in lowercase, sorry. You can also count, all right? So I can go through and find out that I've had 30 posts this morning. And I can also find out, I can also find all the things that don't have the word post. So -v will reverse your search. So anything that doesn't have the word post. All of these searches are very basic. I can count the posts that don't have, we have 339 requests that don't have post in them. Now, so we've talked about grep. Oh, and by the way, that there is grep, there's also zgrep. Same idea, except it works exactly the same, but it will do it through a compressed log file. Now I've got one, excuse me, I should say one more. I've got one more command and then two little modifiers that I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about awk. Now, awk can be scary. Okay, awk is a text processor, -n1 that's built, oh, I didn't tell it what file. Tail access log -n1. All right, now I've brought up one line of a log so I can use this as a demonstration when I talk about awk. Awk processes line. When awk looks at a line of text, and actually I'm using it for log files, but it could be any text file, it divides the line up into fields. And by default, unless you do some, send it some different arguments, it's going to take any space in your log and count that as a new field. So for example, this right here is the IP address, that's field 1. Right here, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, right here, our date is field 4. Now I could go through this whole thing, and these are Acquia logs, so I can just kind of tell you right now. Field 1 is the IP addresses, 4 is the timestamp, 7 is the path that was requested, and 9 is the HTTP code. You can go and figure out more. You will probably want to spend a couple of minutes in looking at your logs and figure out what your fields are. But once you know these things, you can start doing things like this. So I can tail awk that I want to look at field 9 and see any of them that are a 404. So you say awk, you open up the request, you have to have a little quote, and I'm going to say it's equal to 404 through the access log. Another, okay. Now I can also print out things, and I actually think that's actually might be a little bit more exciting. So I can go to the access log and I can say, just print all the paths. All right. So now we have a list of just all the paths spit out. Okay. Now, I know this doesn't seem very exciting. I'm going to take you one more place because I'm going to talk about the little modifiers that you can put at the end. They're more little Linux commands. Now, I am out on my desktop and I'm looking at a text file just because I thought this would be the easiest way to demonstrate this. I have a text file called test.txt, and it has these things in it, these words: Xerox, apple, boy, dog, da, 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 da. Some of them are related. Now, if I want to cat that file, and I can add one of our modifiers. Now, and I haven't said anything about this yet, and I meant to do this earlier, so we'll do it really quick. This is not only in logs, but anything in Linux. You probably know this, but you may not be, is that you can use the pipe command. It is really the thing that makes things, it's really what I would consider like Linux's superpower. The pipe command, which is that kind of long up and down line, lets you take the output of something else and pipe it to the next thing down. And it allows you to take all these little things and build what you need. So right now, I'm going to cat that text file and pipe it out to a Linux command called sort. Boom, my file is sorted. So sort is handy. We've got another one. There's another one called unique. All right, so now it's gone through. Now what unique does is it looks at the previous line. And if it was the same, it's going to call it a duplicate and not put it out. So you can do a couple of fancy things like sort unique. I can even count those, right? So now I know that how many of those things that I had for duplicates. That's with the -C. We had one more little thing, and this is a little magic snippet I use all the time. I can sort my output, gives me all the unique things, it counts them, and then I sort them again, and I like them in reverse order. So now I can see the most used things at the top. So we have 2 dogs, Xerox, dog, head, fish. So that little tiny piece, sort, pipe to unique, and pipe to sort again, is extremely useful when we do all the other things. So let's go back and look at our log files and start actually building some interesting logging commands. Okay, cd stage logs. All right. So I am going to start here. Hang on, let me get my, and I've got little things here so that you don't have to watch me make typing errors. Which I do when people watch me. It's horrible. You'd think I couldn't type. So sorry, hang on. I have this one command, and I'm just going to paste the whole thing in here, and I'm going to talk about what it is. All right. I have this log. This is a particular command. I'm going to use yesterday's log just because I put some stuff in there. I did enough requests that I knew that I would have some things. So that's why I'm using zcat. So I'm catting my log, so it lists it out. I'm piping that to awk, and I'm printing out the first field, which, if you remember earlier, was the IP address. So now I'm going to sort it. I'm going to hit with the unique, and then I'm going to sort it again. And I'm going to give, now the top 20 is kind of silly for mine, so I'm just going to give you the top 3. But now we can look at this and we can see the top 3 IP addresses yesterday that hit my site. Now I can tell you that this particular command, with all the attacks and things that we were talking about, just getting something that gives you the top IP addresses that are hitting your site can be very helpful. And if you're lucky, it's only a couple of them, and then you can go into your htaccess and block them. And you'd be surprised how often that really works. There are DDoSes out there, but a lot of the site requests are 1 to 2, maybe 3 or 4, not that many. I don't want you to rely on that though, because there are definite DDoSes out there where it is thousands and thousands of IP addresses that you can't do anything about. And then they could also just change them. So anyways, we've got the top IP addresses. So our site is down, we're trying to figure things out. Oh, look, this IP address, 162.230.171 is hitting my site. What is it doing? What is it doing? So I can actually take this beginning part of this where I go through my log, right? Here, let me grab it here. Where I look through that IP address. Actually, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I am going to take that particular IP address. I'm going to zgrep that particular IP address, zgrep, grab this IP address right here. Oops, sorry. From the access log. And now what I want to do is I want to see all the paths that that is requesting, right? So what I do here is,
I'm gonna grab the access log from yesterday.
oh, thank you, Allie. You're right.
Welcome.
Actually, I think we put enough in today that it's probably fine, but
Yeah, true.
because
Okay.
we were playing with it, but okay, 2021-03-19 GZ is yesterday. Okay, so now oop, I got an extra pipe in there. So what we're doing here is I'm saying, all right, get me all of those IP address, all the paths with those IP addresses. I'm going to send it to Awk, and I just want to know the paths. What am I hitting, right? And I don't necessarily want to know the top 20. Maybe I just want to know them all, right? So this is going to get them all and then sort them and let me know. And so now I have all the paths. And a lot of times when we're looking at sites, you'll see these paths and you can tell what they're trying to do. Many times you'll actually see, like, you know, those things that look like SQL injection attacks and things, really, really odd, weird things. You'll see a lot of those. Or you'll see somebody who has figured out that all you need to do is put a question mark and some random characters at the end of a request, and it's now a new request. Nothing will it's not cached. And so they'll just try to take down your site by changing that string. But a lot of times getting this will let you figure out what's going on. Now, what's interesting about this, or you could, now that's looking at an IP address, right? Or maybe your site is down. You may want to do it for, let's do like 404s, right? You want to see all the 404s. This actually gets you the path of all the 404s. You could do this a little bit fancier, but that should get me what I want there. This particular grep right here has the danger of finding 404 somewhere not in the correct spot. But for our purposes, this is good enough, right? You probably actually want to get a little bit larger string, or you may want to use awk to get the right field. But so this gets me all the paths and all the 404s. And you might want to just clean up 404s because 404s have to hit, you know, your database, and 404s can be expensive in Drupal. So cleaning up your 404s might also be something you want to do. So what we've done here, so all that we've done is we've just taken the little pieces and we're putting them together. The other thing that I haven't really talked about, and I meant to, sorry, is the way greps. Oh, I did already talk about it. I talked about how you can continuously grep down, right, and get smaller and smaller amounts, and then still pipe that out to awk. Okay, I've got one more sort of magic snippet that I want to talk about, and it's going to look intimidating, but it's not. All right. So if we come back up here, so let's say I've got these people who are attacking me. I'm just going to use my IP address again. Oops, I pasted the wrong thing in. Sorry. Or actually, I pasted a return is what I think I did there. So if I go up, I'll have what I want. Nope, it's not what I did. There it is. All right. So I'm looking at this IP address. Now, I have this great snippet, and I'm just going to paste it in and then show it to you, and we will talk about it. So don't get, and this is all in the things. I had a return in there. I had to say the yep. Okay. So I'm grepping through the logs. I now have this machine. Now, if we take a look at what this did, actually, I'll just show you what this did. This spit out the requests per minute. This basically said this IP address hit it for one time in 1138, 12 times at 1139. And it goes through each minute that there actually was a request and counts them. Now, if we look at this thing right here, there's this substring right here. This right here is the magic in this command. We basically say set time equal to path field number 4. If you remember, that's the timestamp field. Start at the second character, so we're dropping off that first line of it, and give me 17 characters, right? So that gives us something by every minute. But maybe in a real sort of situation where you have a website that's actually giving a lot of traffic, by minute might be a bit much, and it might give you too much to look at. Maybe by tens is good enough. And so what you do for there, if you think about what I've done, I said, give me 17. Well, to make it unique, we just need to drop off the last minute. So just give me the first 16 characters. It's these characters, it tells you what is determining the uniqueness, right? So 16 characters gives us by tens. And by the same token, if you just want to know by hour, you do the same thing, except you go down to 14. Now, so that little thing is extremely handy. You can start looking for patterns for 404s or patterns for 500s or patterns for out of memory errors or anything. You can take that and put that little thing at the end and it'll break it out by times for you. It's an extreme. This is one of those things that you just need to kind of have in your back pocket when you're sitting there trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay, so, and all of that is in the handout. Nobody has to write any of that down. How are we doing, Allie?
We're good. You can move on to Josh.
Okay, all right. All right. I could talk about this forever, but I can't talk about this forever. So hang on. Actually, I don't know. I didn't actually need to exit out of that area. I am going to, oh, I actually have slides. Let's go to slides. Present. All right. So one of the things that I wanted.
Hey, Lynette.
Yeah.
I do have one question. Sorry, I'm off video right now, but I know that for superpower users, command line interfaces, highly preferred because you can just create all sorts of, interesting scenarios like you've been doing. But I'm curious, are there any decent kind of UI interfaces
for logs?
Yeah, and like a lot of this kind of log analysis that you've been doing.
Yeah, so well, there's a couple of things to that. There are, for example, and this might date me. So, but I use a program called BBEdit, which is.
I think are you talking more about like a log forwarding tool though, like Splunk, Sumo Logic, these type of tools?
Well, so sure. I mean, I know.
Yeah. So yes. So those things do exist. For example, there's a really cool sort of grep playground that will grep through things in a program called BBEdit, right? So but you're gonna have to download the files and do that. Or there's all kinds of great log forwarding, which if you had the foresight to set up to somebody like, actually that's not correct. Places, log collectors that you would forward your logs to. That would be the better way to describe them, that then allow you to go through your logs and do things. So for example, we inside of Aqua use something called Sumo, and it lets you do what I would call SQL-like commands on your logs. Those kinds of things. So they exist. Sometimes those are better, and sometimes they'll find patterns that you will never be able to find, or it would take you hours to come up with the sort of thing to do that in the text files. Having said that, the idea kind of going to the logs and being comfortable enough to do that and having that little cheat sheet, practicing just a little bit, you can do things quickly, and that's kind of the idea. This is something that you can do quickly under fire. Right? Some of those log forwarding things are kind of slow. So I can spit out my stuff when I'm working, you know, when we get critical tickets and I'm looking at it, I grab them. I can have stuff done in 5 minutes. I've just got this stuff down. I've got my little snippets and away I go. And I have some coworkers that use like Sumo and they get some nice graphs and things, but they're still doing that 15, 20 minutes down. They're still waiting for all the results. So I was hoping I had a little bit more time and I could make that less scary what I just did, but it really is. If you sit and play with it, it's amazing how much information you can get and how you can just kind of build these things together. And you really shouldn't be scared because it's just little tiny building blocks that you just pass on as you go on. All right, so I don't think that
Got
really
it.
answered
That's
your
good.
question, but
It did. It did. And I think the other thing that you've reinforced is that like you've got the handout and you have referenced here and probably reference on the handout snippets so that like if you want to do this, here's a good snippet to start with. If you want to do this, here's a good snippet.
yes. And so I've got a bunch in the handout and I recommend that you spend a few minutes on your logs because you might have to change them a little because your logs might be in a little different order. And then you have your own set of snippets. So it's kind of a cheat sheet that you have. Oh God, my site is down. It's got my IP addresses. It's got my snippets. I know my commands. I don't have to waste time figuring these things out. But I also have enough confidence that I can start building that stuff down. So I have to tell you that I spend a lot of time looking at logs, and especially when you're looking at error logs, it's a lot of it's not the fancy stuff, it's the grep. Okay, and then let's grep that down lower. Oh, let's grep that down lower. Okay, let's remove that gunk. Okay, grep that down lower. Oh, and it's just finer and finer greps to find exactly what I want. So I hope that was.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead. I don't want to hold you up anymore. That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the next part here. Oh, I should go back to present. As I said, I could have talked for 3 hours and gone over Drush stuff. I could have talked for another 2 hours on log files and spent another 3 hours on Drush stuff. But as Ali said, I think we have. I don't know. I think we got like 3 or 4 minutes. We're supposed to be done here. So. In the handout, I've got all the Drush commands in here. I want to show you a nifty, super handy, my site is down, I can't figure out where the errors are coming from one, all right? And this lets you use Drush to simulate a page load. There's the D7 command there. I don't have a D7 site up, so I'm just going to demonstrate the D stage doc root. The D8 version. So we're back in here. So first thing I'm just type Drush. In case you don't know it, in case you don't remember, Drush with nothing else will spit out all the commands. You could actually grep. You could pipe Drush to grep and grep for what you're looking for. Keep that in mind. All right. I also, anytime I hit the site, I always do a Drush ST. That just lets me know Drush status. That just lets me know everything's okay. Yep, Drush is working. Life is happy. All right. Sometimes that's not. And if then you can't use any other. If you can't get a Drush ST, you're not going to be able to get any other Drush commands. I'm sure most people know. Here, I'm copying. And like, for example, the particular one that I just shared in the screenshot, the simulate a page load, you have to keep it as a snippet. I can't remember that. Maybe there's people whose minds that can do that. I can't. So I literally I actually use a text expander, and I've got certain things to certain keys that I reuse all day long. But anyways, all right. So this Drush EV. So Drush with EV is short for PHP-eval. It lets Drush evaluate a PHP command. And so what this means is it's going to run this PHP key command as if you're Drupal. There are ways to just type PHP and run a command, but it doesn't have all the Drupal defaults, and it's not going to tell you everything that you need to know. So doing a PHP command with EV lets you execute this. So this particular one that I have right here executes a page load from Drush. Now, right here where it says my path to my page, you need to put your path to your page, and if you don't have one, if it's just the front page, you can put nothing there. I don't know if you just left that blank. You probably don't even actually need the quotes, but we'll just go from here. this will actually execute the page load, and that executed the page load. Now you can do a few more things to make this a little bit more useful. You can do a -vd, which makes the drush command verbose in the debug level. And so you get a whole bunch of extra stuff. Of course, this isn't erroring, so we're not seeing a great deal. But here at the beginning, let's go all the way back. Oh my gosh, I have absolutely nothing on my front page and it still outputs a whole bunch. In here, you'll see where it starts running hooks and things, and that might tell you where the error is when you execute the page load. The other thing that's interesting that you can do with drush is that you can do any drush command, you can run it as a different user. Drush, by default, if you don't know anything, drush will run as user 0. But it might be handy to simulate this page command -uid -uid equals 1 as maybe an administrator, or I don't have any other numbers of users, but if you had some editors, right, and they were getting errors, and one of the editors had a user ID of 27, this would execute the command as if it was them. And that would also give you more information that you may not be able to get otherwise. The other nice thing is I think most people who run Drupal know about the status report page inside of Drupal, where it gives you that nice report about the status of your site that's under the reports in the menu. You can actually get that from Drush too, and that can be handy to get while your site is down. Again, it's a lot of text that you got to scroll back and read, but it can also tell you things that might not be. So that's another super handy command. Now, how are we doing? We are
We're
over
at
time.
time. Yeah.
We're at time now.
Okay. So we come back here. Okay, I'm done. The handout here, let's go right here. Let's just get this slide up, because I don't think we spent any time on it. This is what you really need to know, is that our handout is at bit.ly nerds21 handout. That's the key to the whole thing. That has all of our commands in there. You can also get the slides, but the slides themselves aren't that exciting. We are at time. I think we got somebody else coming in the room next. So I think I have to quit talking. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Len and Ali. And if, I don't know, you guys were gonna maybe organize some kind of chat after this, right?
Yeah, and I have not, yes, I don't know how we could let people know. What I'll do, actually, if you care, what I'll do is, because I haven't replied back to the email, but I think we can do this. I'll add it to the handout. I'll put in the time, and he'll probably put it up on the BOF sessions too. But we can do a BOF session if people are interested and want to ask any more. I can go over all the drush commands. I can go over all sorts of things, and we can talk about all sorts of other my Drupal site is down, things that we didn't even do, that we didn't talk about at all in here. I've spent 7 years looking at broken Drupal, so and Ali has spent, I think, 6 years looking at broken Drupal. So
The fact that you're still sane is amazing.
I wasn't sane to start with, so
Thank you guys so much. This was great. I'm gonna hit stop on the recording.
okay.
Great.